Nancy Pelosi is the head of the legislative, one of the legislative houses in the United States, and that is not exactly setting, it's very influential for foreign policy, obviously, but it doesn't actually make the final decision on it. That goes to the executive branch. So she, like any other congresswoman, any other leader, you know, should have the ability to travel anywhere she wants, to be able to talk with whomever she wants, to understand and to be able to reflect that knowledge in her dealings on behalf of her constituents and on behalf of the U.S. people.
Now that we have the Taiwan Travel Act and all these other acts that are seen as like pro-Taiwan or friendly to Taiwan, do you think this is one of the main reasons why Beijing is objecting to this, because they see the actual execution in accordance to new legislation, or is it because of Nancy's own, you know, advocacy in terms of being pro-Taiwan or more a bit hostile to Chinese human rights issues?
I think it's maybe her position. I mean, she's number three. Like, you know, you have the president. You have next in chain is the vice president. You have Nancy Pelosi. She's the I mean, aside from the fact that she's the single most powerful and influential woman in legislative politics in American history, but you also have this part where just as a force of nature, she is a very powerful person. She's twice now. She's on her second time being Speaker of the House. She faced no significant challenges to that every time that she's come up, every time that the Democrats have the majority. And you know, the truth is that people understand how effective she is. She is incredibly, people get obsessed with her because she is that effective.
So you don't think it's a ploy of China trying to test U.S. and, you know, red lines in terms of how far, you know, the U.S. would go, or do you think it's because of her particular position?
There's a bit of that. I mean, in fact, there's like an internet meme around the concept of in a move sure to anger China, and then they just put in some mundane thing like, you know, the weather is, you know, sunny, or in a move sure to anger China, the weather is rainy. But, you know, from that standpoint, I mean, you know, you have to think through, the United States always has to think through, are what we're doing right now, is it going to inure to the benefit of the American people? Is it going to be good for for stability, global stability? Is it going to be good for regional stability? Is it going to be good for our other alliances? And there's also, you know, to some extent, you know, you have to think through whether you're going to Ferberize a bit. You know, do you have to listen to every single caterwauling scream of objection to, oh, you can't possibly do this, oh no, this is the most horrible thing I've ever seen? You have to balance it out, and the United States has priorities, and sometimes those priorities align with China's. I mean, climate change would be one of those. There's international trafficking, or even just, you know, to some extent trade, you know, despite, no matter the perception of adversarial, you know, on the military side or in, you know, the partnership side and who we trade with and things like that, the truth is that there's still an awful lot of trade that goes between these places, just as Taiwan has a lot of trade with China.